The coming of the Son of Man.
Mm, all
Still in
right.
24.
Yes, Matthew 24 and starting in verse 29. It's a long chapter.
It is.
And he's
Immediately after the
Jesus.
tribulation.
Sorry, John. I was just saying how it's still Jesus speaking.
Right, it is. It's almost
Oh,
a page and a half completely of his words, at least for me.
yes, yes.
So he's just going off at the cuff right now,
Mm,
mowing people down with bullets of righteousness and indignation,
mm.
and just slapping people with knowledge and dropping knowledge bombs on these fools.
And then, right. And as we mentioned before in the other one or on our own, but Jesus knows that he's dying soon. So he knows it's time too. So he has to, in Siddell's
Right.
idea, thinks that he has to get it out, you know? He's trying to get everything.
Yeah, if he knew he was gonna die, and he's like, oh, well, these are conversations I need to have.
Right. So
But
listen up.
listen up. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then the sight of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they will gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of earth or heaven to the other. Now, this sounds like the sun goes out and then we float through space until the earth eventually runs out of heat.
Oh, I didn't see any of that, but maybe.
Well, if we're talking about
Uh,
parables and like if we're gonna
I,
take the
I mean, I see the
resurrection
sun
and
getting
revelation and the end of the
right.
world as a real thing,
Yes, yes.
then we
But
might as well see
right.
this as
I do see some of the stuff you're saying, John, with the sun getting dark, but
well, it's
the
like
other.
the sun is darkened.
Mm-hmm.
The
Oh, but the
moon,
falling. Yeah,
if the sun doesn't work, the moon
right.
no longer works because the moon only works because the sun works.
And the stars will fall from heaven.
Stars are just other suns. So if our sun stopped working, that means every other sun stopped working in the universe.
I see. I got you were looking in the universe, and I was just thinking in my little tiny little.
And so if every star is out in the universe and we're still around, that means we would just be floating through space without lights.
Hmm.
So we would still, in some degree, like as long as the laws of existence still exist, and it's just the suns that turned off. Like we
Hmm.
should still be alive until whatever heat was in the earth
And is it
left,
only
and then
right?
eventually we would just freeze into a ball, and
Hmm.
that would be the end of humanity.
Wow. Or is it only like a
And who
temporary
knows?
laser?
I'm sure if you ran simulations, it would probably be 7 years.
Oh, I see what you're saying. 7 years. Wow.
Who
But
knows?
then, I mean, I've always thought like 30 and like verse 29 you're talking about, which it is more dramatic, right?
Yeah.
When you take it like bit by bit, like what it's saying. But then 30 seems like it's the time when Jesus is coming back
Right.
to get us, the
Which
people that.
does sound a lot better than what I described.
But I do see what you're talking about now, and I can't say that I've noticed that before. The violence of it in a way, you know?
Well, it's like
It-
I feel like he just had to talk in parables because, like, if he really just had to flat out say this stuff, I think it'd be a lot more depressing.
Right. And is this a little bit, even though he's warning the people, but is he still talking a little bit in a parable for us to understand it? Because
Well,
we
that, and then like at the end of
see
the
it.
day, right, you don't want people to lose hope.
Yeah,
Because it's not like it's a bad thing either. Like they shouldn't be afraid of it.
but
Because
right.
that should mean that you would be one with your creator, which is like the end all be all.
To be with Jesus.
So it's like you shouldn't be afraid of that. But
I know. And he will send his angel with a great sound of a trumpet. I mean, it does sound like what they call the rapture, right? I mean, the description when Jesus coming back to get us and we'll gather together his
and then
elect. Oh,
beforehand in like 22, and unless those days were shortened, oh wait, no, that's not
but
no,
the
no, it is. But the
tribulation,
elects, but for the elect's sake, those days will be shortened.
so that he will come.
Is that the period of time, the 7 years?
So there's a 7 year period, but in between there's a 3.5 year period, the 1,000 whatever days,
And those
like
are
halfway through the tribulation, the 7 year.
okay.
But it's hard maybe for all us to put it together. I mean, there's people that study just in times that has a better understanding of the times and
The
however.
overall picture.
Yes, even I mean, my pastor does some on that, and then other people obviously. And but it's cool to read what God says, and try to understand it, and then look at other people and put it all together, kind of.
Yeah.
But I think maybe it won't be totally clear until we see it. Like we see, and then we're like, I remember that now because I see.
Yeah.
But before I couldn't see it because. And now he's going to reference the parable from the fig tree in the next
And
verse.
that feeling was probably
Hmm.
the exact feeling that you would get. It's
Yeah,
like as
like
soon as you saw it, you'd be like, that was
I hope I'm ready.
it.
Oh, Lord,
So
Lord.
another parable of the fig tree.
Mm,
Now learn this parable from the fig tree. When it when its branch has already become tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So you also, when you see all these things, know that it is near at the doors.
mm,
Assuredly, I say to you, this generation will by no means pass away till all these things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will by no means pass away. So is that just another like
I mean, that part is
you'll
in,
know? Because it seems to be the idea of like, you know how there's cues for you to do things?
yeah.
Well, there's cues for you to wait for you to do things, which is how they would use the word cue. But like a cue as it
Oh,
would be in like screenwriting or acting is like a cue for you to start doing something when something else happens.
right. It's like a hint, kind of like a
A hint.
kind of like,
So when you notice that the fig tree is this certain way, you know that a certain thing is happening, which is summer, and it's an indication for you to do something else.
right. Get ready for whatever you need to do for summer season.
Right. And I think he's
So
using
this
it as a way for us to do the same thing.
So right, so if we see stuff happening that he spoke about, like even in verse 6, the rumors of wars and famines and all that, or tribulation, that we know it's time. We need to be getting ready. Or even if
Right.
we see a lot of false prophets, false Christ, as
Right.
they're saying they're Jesus, then we know, we better be ready. We better be knowing that who Jesus is and written in his book of life. Lord, to understand that he died for us. that he
You can do good things and
Yeah.
find some peace.
can find some peace.